welcome back. Or if this is your first time here, welcome. I'm really excited because this is the first video in our rental refresh series. In the 8 months since we've been here, we've got it almost so close to where we want it to be. And now we're finally gonna finish that home stretch. If you wanna see a full apartment tour video, I'll be sure to link it. Please check it out. But we're focusing today on the dining room and entryway. Currently in the entryway, we have some theater chairs that we bought from a friend of Sean's that acts as the perfect place for sitting down to take your shoes off and put your shoes on. New York is gross and we are a shoes off apartment, so this little niche created the perfect space to add some seating. The living room kind of also acts as our mud room because we often dump packages, deliveries, our coats, our bags. It becomes a dumping ground for when we come in and have to get things out of our hands. So we definitely need to give it a real tidy. In the dining room, we have this IKEA bookshelf, which I hacked into this cute buffet, acting as our bar and some extra storage. I definitely want to rearrange how things are living on here because I don't think that the space is being used as effectively as it could be, but I do love the bright color, the bright pop of color that it brings to the space, so it won't be moving. The dining room table works as, like I said, part mudroom, part desk, and not quite yet as a dining room table. So I want to do something to it so that it feels a bit more purposeful and a bit more like a dining space. And of course, we want to tackle the walls in all of these spaces. Now that I've told you what we kinda are not loving about the space, let me give you a quick to-do list so that you know what's happening in this video. Bear in mind, it will probably happen over a couple of days, so we will look different as the video progresses. So I've got a rug that I wanna try and lay down, see if it works in the space. If it does, great. If it doesn't, it's gotta go. We're gonna, of course, tackle the walls. We're going to redesign and reorganize the dining room buffet. And we're going to add some final styling touches so that it feels more cohesive and more like a dining space. So let's get started. We're going to get everything cleared out so that we can start with a fresh, clean palette. Let's go. So we're going to get started with the walls. We've actually never done a gallery wall before, so this is like how newbies do a gallery wall. We had a couple items that needed to be framed, so we're actually going to start with putting these couple of things in the frames. This magazine was a magazine that Sean got from eBay. It's vintage, it's from the 70s, and I was completely at a loss at how to frame it, and then the thought occurred to me, like, try a shadow box frame. So we were actually able to get these frames from Michael's. They were buy one, get two free. Michael's is clutch. I'm sure this is not new news if you watch home decor or DIY videos here on YouTube. So we were also able to get this poster frame for this super cute sneakers kind of plants print that Sean's like, look, it's us in a print. Both Sean and I have been collecting a lot of wall decor. So this was also an exercise in how do we want to frame things? How do we want things to get laid out? So here we are trying to lay out what's going to go where. We have a lot of wall decor, but that's great because we also have big blank walls. And like I said, we've really never done a gallery wall before. So laying it on the floor and seeing how things look together was a great place to start. What we did off camera was decide what things we wanted to hang in which room. So the stuff we're working with here is definitely the stuff that we've already decided is going to go in the dining room. I'm also trying to do a good job of keeping things balanced in that everything isn't horizontal next to each other and everything next to each other isn't vertical. Trying to make sure that the balance works, that the colors work, that the frames work, was really just working on what felt good and what looked nicest next to each other. So as novices, we are definitely going to use the craft paper trick that you see online everywhere. You take each frame, lay it out on top of this craft paper. We actually got our roll on Amazon. It was very affordable. Lay each frame out, measure it, like just trace around it so that you have a representation of what each thing is, each size. Make sure you note on the paper like what it is, and use some painter's tape to put the pieces of paper up. Make sure that you like the way things are feeling on the wall, that then you can line things up. You can just make sure that it all feels good before you start putting any holes in your walls. So after we have the paper on the wall, on the actual frame, we'll measure where the picture hanging hardware actually is. We did this off camera because noobs, okay? It took us a little bit of concentration to work this part out. But once it's on the wall, once you have your measurements, you can mark on the paper on the wall where the hardware will go. And that is where you know where to start hammering your nail or your screw or whatever into your wall using that template. Most of our frames were pretty light, so a single nail was sufficient enough to hold everything up. We're also working with a concrete wall, so the nail being hammered into the wall was surprisingly sturdy. But when it came to the heavier things like the mirror and another picture that I'm going to show you in a second, we had to pull out our hammer drill. So for heavier items like the mirror and another picture that I'm going to show you later, we definitely wanted to go into the wall with screws and anchors, and for that we had to use the hammer drill. So in my research on how exactly to use a hammer drill and how exactly to hang things on a concrete wall, I found a really helpful video that I'm going to be sure to link in the description below. But if you have a concrete wall, or even if you don't, a hammer drill is still pretty useful. It can do both hammer drilling and regular drilling. You just have to flick a switch. I used my anchor to mark my drill bit so I knew exactly how far I needed to go into the wall so that the anchor would be flush with the wall. So you just start with the drill on regular drill mode, drill until you hit the concrete, and you'll know you've hit the concrete because the drill will not go any further. Pull it out of the hole, switch to hammer mode, use both hands and just go. And it was really actually very easy. So now here is the other heavier piece of art that we're going to hang, where we also had to pull out the hammer drill. This is a poster that I actually picked up in Cuba and had custom framed at Michael's, because Michael's will do basic framing and they will handle your custom framing as well. But this frame was actually pretty substantial. So again, we're going in with our hammer drill, putting an anchor, a screw, and hanging it with the hanging wire that it came. So we're sticking it over the litter box, just filling an empty white space that we had next to the wardrobe that lives in the living room. Now this rug. I have had this rug for about 3 years, and it originally came from Target. In previous apartments, it's lived in the living room. Sometimes I didn't roll it out at all, but I had it and I thought, let's see if it fits in this space. So once we laid it out, I could tell that with the chairs under it, if people actually tried to sit in the chairs, it was probably going to be just a little bit too small. But I like the way that a rug helps to define the space. It creates a more sectioned off feel, like it grounds a space, and I like the way that that felt. So for now, I think we're going to live with it. Maybe we'll look for a different rug for the future, but right now we've got it, so let's just go with it. IKEA keeps adding to their range of things that they make that fit inside this square really perfectly. And one thing that they've created more recently is this wine rack. And I wanted a place to put our wine for so long. You're supposed to store wine on its side. This created the perfect space to do that, and I already had the perfect storage spot for it. It's a couple of days later, and after living with the buffet for a little while, I decided I really wanted to change some things around. So we're gonna pull everything off and put it all back with purpose. This Kallax bookshelf from IKEA is also a piece that I have moved with me to a couple different apartments. It really provides so much storage that it's worth it to keep lugging it around. They no longer make this exact color in the Kallax series, but I really like it. I hacked it by adding some legs. There are tons of tutorials out there on the internet. I'll be sure to link one below. So we're gonna start with the pretty things and put them up top first. I'm gonna start with the record players and records. I'm gonna move those to the other end of the buffet so that they are a bit more accessible, and then put the spirits and the glasses at the other end. So then in case we're entertaining, we now have two different zones. The drinks can be on one side, the music can be on the other side. Here's a little tip if you have to use an extension cord. Use a leftover zip tie or a leftover twist tie from an electronics package you got, or even a loaf of bread. This I think was from like a speaker or something that we got, but if you gather the cord together and use that little twist tie to keep it all together, you don't end up with like cord laying all about. You can tuck everything up nice and neat so that you can't really see it. IKEA makes baskets that fit into the squares of the Kallax system perfectly, and is a good way to utilize storage where you can hide away the ugly things that you don't necessarily want to look at. I actually had two of these baskets already on the buffet, if you remember from the before shots. I had the other two in a closet, not really being used to the best of their ability. So I'm going to pull those out. We'll have to deal with that closet later. But I'm gonna pull those out and add them back into the buffet because I think having the bottom just full of baskets is the cleanest way to go. So in the first basket, we're gonna stick our Dyson and all of the attachments. If you guys don't have a Dyson, please get yourself a Dyson. It's like life-changing. From floors to carpets, the Dyson can do it all, honey. And you see that it can spit down into this cute little basket. It does come with a wall mount, but we're apartment living. We don't really have a place where that wall mount would be cute. Like there's no laundry room or whatever here. So into the basket it goes. In basket number 2, I'm gonna put some DVDs. I know, you're like, girl, DVDs, get rid of them. There are a couple that I just can't bear to let go of yet. So I'm still holding on to some of my DVDs. I am truly my mother's child in that way. But luckily, all of our games also fit into this basket, so it's not a complete waste. Now this third basket is full of beauty overflow that I have not touched in the almost 9 months that we've been in this apartment. So I am taking this opportunity to dump all of that out and deal with it, sort it, throw it away, donate it, do whatever I need to do. And I'm gonna fill this basket with our hammer drill that we just used, our label maker, and a couple other miscellaneous decor pieces that either haven't found a home yet or are for future projects and they just need to be tucked away until we get there. This fourth basket I'm going to leave empty so that I have room to grow. So that's all the baskets. Now, I knew I wanted to add a light to this space because I want to be able to create different moods with our lighting. In this space, in the apartment, we only have 2 overhead ceiling flush mount lights that are off center, make absolutely no sense to me in this space. And For general seeing and for filming, we have very bright daylight bulbs in there. But for when you're trying to set a mood, if you're entertaining, you want to get cozy, watch a movie or whatever, you don't want a super bright daylight bulb. So I'm going to add this lamp. It came with the bulb. It's from Target. Can you believe it's actually so nice? To create just a little bit of mood lighting. Layering your lighting is a really important point when it comes to designing your living spaces. Being able to see and do tasks are one thing, but you definitely want a different temperature and a different level of light when it's time to entertain or relax. And now a quick little DIY. I actually thrifted this candlestick, I don't know, from some thrift store somewhere. It was like $1. But the green is like right on the nose with the green of the bookshelf. So I'm just gonna go ahead and use the same blue paint that we used to paint the wall and that we also used in our plant table video to give this a quick little makeover. Now, the space where this buffet is living is a really long wall. Not really long because we're in an apartment, but rather long. So I'm gonna add in these 2 extra chairs that I didn't really feel like work with the table that we have in this space because it's also white, but it's a way to elongate the piece of furniture and make the buffet feel like it's a bit more substantial in the space. I'm also gonna go ahead and add this tall plant underneath the mirror so that we get some height really happening in this space because everything feels very top and bottom. The plant will help bring it all together. You'll see what I'm saying. We're adding this vintage tapestry that we got from Black Market Vintage. Be sure to check them out. They're linked below. We're adding this over the theater chairs in this little nook. What we didn't get on film is that we added a piece of duct tape or just a strong tape so that when it gets nailed to the wall, the tapestry itself doesn't begin to sag under its own weight on the hole that you're gonna put it for the nails. My initial plan was to use T-bars, but as you can see in the footage, that really didn't work. So we did have to end up using very small nails. So if you're going to hang something like this that is cloth and not framed, just be sure to reinforce where you're going to hang it because its own weight and gravity will make that small little hole for the nail much larger over time. Now that I've been living with this tapestry for a while on the wall, I think it needs something more. Maybe some wallpaper or a painted element, I'm not sure, but down in the comments, let me know what you think. Give me some ideas. It needs something more though. Now, after stressing about how things were gonna live on top of the buffet, styling and restyling for, I don't know, maybe an hour, 2, finally feel like I landed in a good space. So we're gonna go ahead, bring the table and chairs back into the space. I'm going to layer this pillowcase. This is actually a pillowcase that we got in Marrakesh in our Marrakesh haul. And then I'm also gonna lay on this IKEA sheepskin because these chairs are like, surprisingly, not super comfortable on your bottom. So layer those in, and I think, kids, that we are ready for the reveal. So there you have it. The first episode of our rental refresh is done. What did you think? Did you like it? Do you have some suggestions? Please be sure to leave them in the comment section below. Please be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you are here for the next episode. And thank you as always so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Hi. If you want more, be sure to follow me on Instagram for behind the scenes and a little bit more on the day-to-day happenings here. You can find my handle link below and we'll put it on the screen.